Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is David and this is a tag. It's been a while since I've done a tag, but I didn't want to miss this one. This is the Shakespeare Journey Tag. And I was tagged by one of the co-creators, Kelly from Books I'm Not Reading. And I do enjoy Shakespeare quite a bit, so I didn't want to miss the chance to get to this sometime this month. And, I wanted to do it a lot sooner, but here we are. There's 11 questions and then tagging people. So the first question, what was your first experience reading Shakespeare and what was it like? I'm pretty sure, like most people, my first experience came around the high school time, maybe a little before, somewhere in that range. And like most people, it was Romeo and Juliet. It didn't win me over at the time. I thought it was fine, but I was not blown away. We watched the Romeo and Juliet film that I'm pretty sure everybody still watches. And yeah, I mean, it didn't really win me over. It was forgettable, especially amongst some of the other things that were being read. And, I hate to say it, but Romeo and Juliet might not even be in the top third of Shakespeare's plays. So it's a poor choice. I get it, because you imagine that somebody that's in high school can relate to it. But I think a Midsummer Night's Dream would probably be far more palatable and more engaging. There's Much Ado About Nothing would be another great one for that kind of crowd, even if some of the humor would go over their heads. Question 2, has the reading of a Shakespeare play ever brought you to tears? No, unfortunately not. I don't really get that emotional with what I'm reading most of the time. I imagine there are some scenes that if I saw them being portrayed well, might. But just reading it, no, not on the page. Sorry. Question 3, are there any people that have played a significant role in your Shakespeare journey? I don't know about significant role, because I think I was already appreciative of Shakespeare at the time. But I had a professor when I was going back to get my English degree. So I had been working in retail for about a decade at this point. Had left that behind. And I remember this professor really well. Really older guy. And I took 2 classes with him. Shakespeare and Age of Chaucer. Those are my kinds of classes. And I absolutely enjoyed them both. And it was where I got introduced to, in a good way, to some of the history plays. So we didn't just do the greatest hits, but we dabbled in the history plays. And if you have been around for a while, you know that some of my favorite plays fall into the history category, which is not something that most people say about when it comes to Shakespeare and his plays. So his name was Dr. David Tente, and fun fact, I actually ended up going back and kind of substitute teaching for him a time or two for his Chaucer classes. So, that was fun. I would love to teach Shakespeare and or Chaucer and or medieval literature. I mean, that's life goals right there. Probably never going to happen, because college teaching is basically adjunct hell, and I don't have the capacity or the time to pursue endlessly trying to get that. I've got a family to support, and that's okay. Maybe later in life an opportunity will come around. I don't know. Until then, I'll just continue diving in on my own and preparing as though I'm going to eventually get there. Do I have a favorite book or film about Shakespeare? No. Unfortunately not. I haven't read any books about Shakespeare, really. I've read the Bill Bryson one, which was enjoyable. I've read Shakespeare himself. I do have 2 that I'm looking to get to soon. I've been saying this for over a year. This is A Year in the Life of William Shakespeare, 1599, by James Shapiro. And Shakespeare's Kings, the Great Plays and the History of England in the Middle Ages. So you can see the kings, they're being portrayed in here. Richard II, Henry IV, Henry V, Henry VI, and Richard III. I really want to get to both of these. I have not done it. I don't know when I'm going to. I want to. There are plenty of books I want to that I just haven't gotten to. It's the struggle of booktube. It's the struggle of being a reader. There's so many out there. But if you have recommendations on a good Shakespeare book, let me know. And if you have good recommendations on a good Shakespeare-related film, let me know. Drop them in the comments. I will go check them out because I am completely on board with doing more and immersing myself more. Which character in Shakespeare most resembles you and in what ways? I am terrible with these kind of questions. That's the introverted me. The person that doesn't really like to go out on a limb and make these calls. And I don't know. I don't know how to answer that. I did try to take a couple of quizzes before starting to film, and they ranged from having 3 questions to 10 questions. I found one that was a multi-grouped, so you had like I think 11 questions. Then it put you into one of 5 categories, and then you had another set of questions. And there were 50 possible results, and that one gave me Beatrice. So I don't know. I don't think that fits. I don't know. Knowing me, I'm probably like Randy Ray. I'm probably more of a Falstaff than anything else. You know, maybe I'm Bottom. Who knows? I'm not the leading role. That's for sure. I'm probably an extra, or somebody that dies really early on in a tragedy. Yeah. I'll be exiting stage pursued by a bear. Question 6. Which play would you most like to see performed in a theater, and why? And this is a hard one. And I think that the easy answer to go with would be the best play by Shakespeare. And we'll get to that in a little bit. But I don't like doing the easy answer on that. I absolutely would love to see it being performed. I would probably want to see one of the history plays. What I'd like to see, if not the entire Henriade, Richard II, Henry IV, parts 1 and 2, and Henry V, if not all of those, Henry IV 1 and 2 would be fantastic. But if I can't fit the 2 of them in there, then Henry V, if I'm doing just one play. Because that is, I think, my favorite of those 4. What actor throughout history would you like to have seen play Hamlet in his prime? And that's a hard question. There have been some great answers. And you know, I just earlier today heard somebody mention Ian McKellen. I think that would be a great answer. Christopher Lee would be a great answer. You know, those guys were both excellent. For me, the person I'm sure he's probably done it because he's very involved with Shakespeare, but I'd love to see David Tennant do Hamlet. I actually enjoy Mel Gibson's Hamlet. You know, there's a lot of really good answers that you could give here, though. So many really, really good answers. Deliver your favorite speech or soliloquy from a Shakespeare play. I'm going to circle back to this at the end. So number 9, do any of Shakespeare's plays intimidate you? If yes, what play and why? And the honest answer to that is no. There was a time when the history plays would have sounded like nails on a chalkboard to me, and I absolutely love them now. I just got done rereading King Richard III. Just finished today and enjoyed every bit of it. So there's none that intimidate me. There's some that I just haven't gotten around to. I've hit all of the major ones. It's going back through and hitting the minor ones. And what I'd really like to do is just revisit all of them. You know, grab a play every week and a half or something, and spend a year going through Shakespeare chronologically, maybe. I think that'd be fun. I think that'd be a really good year. You know, coming up with a schedule to cover that year would be the first part that you would need to do. And then you also would want to, when do you pencil in the sonnets? Yeah, I think that'd be a lot of fun. But none of them intimidate me. And so that leads right into number 10, which is a great question. What tips would you give intimidated readers coming to Shakespeare for the first time? The first tip is to just understand that the medium in which this is written is not for somebody to just sit and read. You're not getting the same experience as what is intended with it. You can read it and really enjoy it. But there are 3 things that you could do that could enrich the experience. 1 is to read aloud, even if it's just you alone. Especially if you run into something that's just really not clicking with you on what they're trying to say. Sometimes reading it out loud, it forces you to slow down a little bit to really comprehend what's being said as you're trying to vocalize it. I think that's a really good way of digging in a little bit on some of these. The second recommendation would be to listen to an audio performance. There are all kinds of free things on things like LibriVox, which, you know, your mileage may vary, but there are audiobooks out there where they have multiple people reading the different parts. And so having the different voices will help you to be able to identify who's who, or at least when it changes. That'd probably be the bottom of the 3 that I would recommend. But the best thing that you can absolutely do is to watch a production of the play. Not a movie of it, not an interpretation, not an annotated version of it, but somebody performing the play. Whether that is in sticking true to Shakespeare's script or modernizing the language. Either way is fine. But watching a production of it, because then you get to see the stage actions come to life, what they're doing, how they're acting, reacting to people. If they're doing a really good job of it, you can catch so much from that. And that really brings it to life. I guess the other thing is, don't be afraid the first time through if you don't understand certain things. Again, if there's a scene that just really didn't make sense to you, go watch the production of that particular scene and see if it makes more sense at that point in time. Pull out a book like the Art in Shakespeare or the is it the Pelican? A Shakespeare that has notes in it. Can help. Highlighting, making notes along your own along the way. Or even finding one that kind of modernizes the language a little bit to help you get through. There's no shame in having to do that. You lose something by doing that. But for your first time through, that's okay to not completely get it in the original Shakespearean form. It's a worthwhile experience. It absolutely is enriching to read Shakespeare and to enjoy it because it influenced so much that has happened since then. And being able to see some of those things is just great. So, question 11 is, which is your favorite Shakespeare play and why? And the only answer to that is Hamlet. This is the only acceptable answer. Those of you that have said something else, it's okay that you're wrong. But you're wrong. That this is the best Shakespeare play. And that's why it is easy to make it the favorite, because it is superior in every way to all the others. It is extremely well crafted. Has very vibrant characters. It's very rich in tension and emotion as things are happening along the way. It has characters that will stick with you. It has probably the most memorable Shakespeare monologues in there. The to be or not to be, that was the question. There are a couple others that are equally memorable, that have been so rehearsed so often, that have been kind of popular culture. This is an outstanding play. It is not where I would recommend you start with Shakespeare. But if you've read a couple of Shakespeare and you've found that it's not as bad as you thought, then go to Hamlet. It shouldn't be your last, but it also shouldn't be your first. Because hopefully after reading a couple of others, you've gotten past that barrier of grappling with the language, with understanding how a play is structured and how it's supposed to flow. And then those things can kind of fade a little bit to the background and let you just really enjoy the text. And I have reread this more times than any other Shakespearean play. And that will continue to hold true for the rest of my life. It is endlessly rereadable for me. So now we come back to the final thing. Number 12 is to tag some other booktubers. And yeah, I don't know who to tag. I am so far behind on doing these kinds of things. I will tag Vin from Revenant Reads. I will tag Tina from Sound and Fury Book Reviews. And I'll tag Tony from An Erudite Adventure and Liam from Liam's Lyceum. I think that's a good quartet right there. 4 people. I'd love to hear, but if I didn't tag you and you haven't been tagged yet, I'd love to hear about this. And to hear your thoughts on this, what your answers would be. So now we come to the last thing. So this was number 8. Deliver your favorite speech or soliloquy from a Shakespeare play. And as soon as I show you what play it's going to be, you're probably going to know what the monologue is here, what the speech is. So this is King Henry V. This is the Art in Shakespeare. And so we're going to Act 4, Scene 3. And this is King Henry delivering the speech. I'm going to apologize in advance because I'm going to do a poor job of this, but here we go. What's he that wishes so? My cousin Westmoreland? No, my fair cousin, if we are marked to die, we are no. To do our country loss, and if to live, the fewer men, the greater share of honor. God's will, I pray thee, wish not one man more. By Jove, I am not covetous for gold, nor care I who doth feed upon my cost. It earns me not if men my garments wear, such outward things dwell not in my desires. But if it be a sin to covet honor, I am the most offending soul alive. No, faith, my coz, wish not a man from England God's peace. I would not lose so great an honor as one man more, methinks, would share from me, for the best hope I have. Oh, do not wish one more, rather proclaim it, Westmoreland, through my host, that he which hath no stomach to this fight, let him depart. His passport shall be made, and crowns for convoy put into his purse. We would not die in that man's company that fears his fellowship to die with us. This day is called the Feast of Crispian. He that outlives this day and comes safe home will stand a tiptoe when this day is named, and rouse him at the name of Crispian. He that shall see this day and live old age will yearly on the vigil feast his neighbors and say, tomorrow is St. Crispian. And he will strip his sleeve and show his scars and say, these wounds I had on Crispin's day. Old men forget, yet all shall be forgot. But he'll remember with advantages what feats he did that day. Then shall our names familiar in his mouth as household words, Harry the King, Bedford and Exeter, Warwick and Talbot, Salisbury and Gloucester, be in their flowing cups freshly remembered. This story shall the good man teach his son, and Crispian shall ne'er go by, from this day to the ending of the world, but we in it shall be remembered. We few, we happy few, we band of brothers, for he today that sheds his blood with me shall be my brother. And he ne'er so vile, this day shall gentle his condition. And gentlemen in England now abed shall think themselves accursed they were not here, and hold their manhoods cheap whilst any speaks that fought with us upon St. Crispin's day. If you've never read King Henry V, read Richard II, Henry IV, Part 1 and 2, and Henry V. Those 4 plays are magnificent together. You can enjoy each of them separately, but they have an arc. And it's great to see that arc come through with Harry and what leads him to those moments where he leads those men in that glorious, glorious battle, where he gives that rousing speech. There you go. I hope you enjoyed. I really, really enjoyed seeing this tag, reading some Shakespeare this month. It's great that some people do ShakeTube. And, I hope that soon I'll be diving back into even more Shakespeare because I absolutely enjoy it every time. I will catch you later.